I'm your host, Megan DeFord, and this is Wait, What Do You Do Again? I am so excited for you to listen to this conversation today with Lynn Harris. She is the founder and CEO of Gold Comedy, a comedy school, professional network, and content studio built to make comedy accessible for everyone. We talk about what a comedian's life actually looks like, why the nobody can joke anymore excuse is mostly just bad writing, and how comedy shapes culture. We get into late bloomers, confidence, Tanya Harding, and the simple practice of noticing what's funny in everyday life. Rate, review, subscribe, share, do all the things, and let's go. Lynn, thank you so much for being here today. You have built this really interesting career that has this intersection of entrepreneurship and humor and advocacy. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you've done and kind of what sparked this journey that you've taken?
Sure. And yeah, thank you for asking and thank you for having me. Yeah, I am definitely one of those people who gets asked questions that are either as on the nose as, "Wait, what's your job?" or gets asked questions that make assumptions about my job because they don't understand my job.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it's not that weird. So, when you understand the components of it, it's not very weird. Nor does it involve witchcraft, which now I really wish it did. Based
There's
on your
still time. There's still time.
there's still time. And so, anyways, my current job actually, in a way, kind of threads everything together that I've been either working on or committed to my whole long middle-aged life.
Mhm.
And that is, I'm the founder and CEO of Gold Comedy, which is the comedy school and professional network and content studio where women and non-binary creators and others, as we like to say, build their comedy careers and creative side hustles and join this powerful professional network and make funny stuff that gets seen on all kinds of stages and screens. And the kind of boring way to explain it to someone who like doesn't know anything about comedy or whatever is it's like a school, but you're a member and you pay every year to be a member. And when you're a member, you get access to comedy classes and community. Like that's it. Where it gets interesting and different and is really is unique unto itself is in the mission. And that is that, comedy is hard for everyone. Comedy is hard for the straightest, whitest dude.
Mhm.
True. We want to make it easier for the people for whom it is the hardest. And as much as things have changed over the years, and they have, I've seen them, I've lived them, it's still not easy enough, or there are still uneven barriers to women and just anyone outside the comedy norm. And that matters. It matters because women are people. It matters because comedy is a job. It matters because comedy is a cultural force. It helps us think about what's important. It helps push norms. It helps change perceptions. So who does comedy matters. So, beneath all of the kind of regular stuff, which is we're just like any other kind of group of people who learn and help each other's careers together. We just do it in comedy. In the aggregate, the goal is to like, what if we could be part of making the helping the people who make comedy and the types of comedy that we see more inclusive, more diverse. That will not only make comedy better, but it will actually change perceptions. It will change people's ideas of, I don't know, who gets to talk,
Mhm.
you know? Who gets to talk on stage for 8 minutes without being interrupted? That's actually kind of radical, you know? And who gets to make people laugh has actually kind of been gatekept. And so like that would make the world a much cooler place. The more we can accelerating the change that is already happening. That's pretty inspiring to me. So that's kind of my stump speech about that, and it gets confusing to people because, people, first of all, don't even really understand that comedy is a job, but we can get back to that. But just to wrap up, the through lines that all kind of fed into that are, I love comedy, I hate patriarchy, and what if I could kind of build one and smash the other at the same time? And the jobs that I've had that have been relevant and have helped and have fed into, I don't have all the skills I needed to start my own startup, I learned, but I have produced a lot of things. And I mean producer, like shows. Like I have written a ton of things. I had a long career as an award-winning journalist. I was a performer, still do some stuff. And I was a writer. I said that. So all of these things, and I love to like strategize. And I also have some chops as what we now call, and this is also like that's a job, a culture change strategist.
Yeah.
Like, and like, what is that? And so I can tell you. And so all of those people, all of those things kind of have funneled together to create what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. And so a lot of questions and conversation from there. And maybe this isn't the right place to start, but like, when did you realize you were funny? Like, was there a moment where you realized you were funny, or was there a moment where you realized you really enjoyed making people laugh and engage in humor?
I, yeah, I was kind of a doofus like a doofus punster when I was little, and I remember, or I don't remember like cultivating that. I just remember the we were getting an addition to my childhood home, and they had built kind of the frame for the closet where the towels would be, and there were no shelves yet. And I remember I went into it and then kind of waited. I stood there in this little and waited for my parents to come find me. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you think I'm doing? It's a Lynn in closet." So, and my parents like laughed their asses off. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Yeah, this is great.
okay. And I mean, I was like 7, and then the other time I remember, and
I
I'm not
mean,
telling you
that's
this
pretty
because
good for
it
a
was pretty good.
seven-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And the other one I remember was when my mom was like, "Are you okay? You're a little hoarse." And I said, "I'm not a little horse. I'm a little girl."
Nailed it.
So, like
Yeah.
I roll, but I got to laugh. And
Yeah.
yes, I would be lying to you if I said that the laugh didn't feel great. It felt great. But it wasn't like I was forging some super original path in my household in the sense that like not that my parents were like circus actors, but that the soundtrack among the soundtracks in the house were, you know, and the constant soundtracks were, Carol Burnett, The Muppet Show, MASH, The Jeffersons, even like the variety shows like The Osmonds and Captain and Tennille, I Love Lucy. That was just comedy was just normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is it about us that we want to get that laugh? Like, what is it about that connection that's so unique and special?
I mean, I there's all sorts of science, but literally it's love.
Mm,
I mean, love comes in so many forms, right? And people enjoy different types of love, right? Some people don't really care about getting a laugh, but they want a different kind of approval. They want someone to say you're right, or they want someone to say you're included,
mhm.
or they want someone to say, here's some cake, like whatever it is. But I just think that if that is it's overused now, but if that's your love language, then getting a laugh just feels like love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I it's I love what you said about comedy is a cultural force. And before we go into that, what is the life of a comedian? Like, it is a profession, and I think, like, most of us, like, we understand that at a certain level, but it's because we've seen, like, SNL or, like, Netflix specials or like, once you've, like, made it on a huge scale. What is a working comedian's life like? Like, what is that profession like?
Well, first, let me say that there are all sorts of comedy.
Sure.
So there's stand up, there's improv, there's
Mhm.
sketch, there's being a comic actor, an actor whose brand is comedy.
Mhm.
There's storytelling. There's 4 to 5 people say they prefer their brands to be funny, right? So there are people who work in agencies whose job it is to communicate those brands in a funny way. We've all heard of like brands that have distinguished themselves with hilarious social media accounts,
Sure.
right? Like that's a comic,
Yeah.
that's comedy, no matter what their title might be otherwise, right? So it really depends. I'll toss out a few typical things,
Mhm.
keeping in mind that there are many atypical
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
You might have someone who has a job like during the day at something comedy related. Maybe they're a producer at Viacom.
Mhm.
Maybe they work on a TV show that's not funny, but they're in the entertainment world. Maybe they're I have no idea why I just thought of Viacom, but whatever.
Yeah.
They they might work in a communicate they might work in the communications department for a university
Mhm.
making the communications videos for that university. It's not comedy, but they know how to produce,
Mhm.
right? They might have like a day job like that. And then at night they're doing mics and shows, mics
Yeah.
and book shows. And for example, if you're a stand-up, you might then get to the place where you're doing enough comedy related stuff, not all of it super glam, that you don't have those day jobs, whether or not they're comedy related. You might be doing enough what are called corporate gigs,
Mhm.
or industrials, like so people who do those now, not as dorky as they used to be, like anti-sexual harassment training videos that you
Sure.
see. Like they're so much better than they used to be. And just
I
gigs like
really
that it's
enjoy
just
an
like
anti-sexual harassment video, I'll tell you, it's
I
my
mean, they can yeah. They used to but they used to be, like, so eye
so bad.
roll, and now
Oh,
they actually, like, look like they could actually be, like, realistic.
yeah,
They're, like, so much cooler than they used to be.
yeah,
Those are working actors, some of them are comedians.
sure,
Commercials, tour, they go on tour.
yeah,
They do podcasts. It is for sure possible to, just cobble together, enough of those between auditioning for things and just, having good representation that gets you enough gigs. And
mhm,
the point is that not all of them are visible to the rest of us,
sure,
right?
sure,
So it still can be confusing for people. And that's why, or you can, and then there's the whole thing of like writing for late night or
mhm,
writing for any show or any TV show, any comedy show, any sitcom, any dramedy. That's a whole nother world unto itself. And maybe you supplement that by doing brand writing until you don't need to, or maybe and those gigs tend to be contract, right? So
mhm,
there are exceptions, but they could be, 8, 13, 20-week contracts, and then you're looking for the next one. But you have other contacts and you have stuff to do in between. Or maybe you
oh,
write
yeah,
books, or maybe you write for Shouts and Murmurs, or so it tends to be sort of there's all sorts of ways it can play out. But I think that mostly what people see and hear about are the people who are either on the stage or in front of the camera,
mhm,
and so it's hard to understand and envision all of the, like, segment producers and all of the story editors and all of the people who make shows and even stand up happen.
yeah, like that team behind the team, right? It's like
Correct.
yeah, yeah, and you mentioned that comedy tends to be a male-dominated industry, and a lot of what you were just talking about is creating these experiences and creating productions and writing and all of that for yourself, but when you're trying to break into, into comedy, like, where do you see the resistance and, let's just start with that, I guess, like, where are you seeing that resistance for folks?
Let me first stipulate that because we are mature adults,
Mhm,
we will be able to hold in our minds 2 conflicting truths at the same time.
mhm,
One of them is that it is so much better than it used to be
mhm,
in terms of just active misogyny and active gatekeeping
Mhm.
and just really like preposterous, redonkulous stuff.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can't believe how terrible it still is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
both are true. And it's not just
Sure.
and let me just even like state that even more. It's not just so much better than it used to be. It's like great.
Mhm.
Like there are so many starting from just kind of the everyday to the big deal. There are so many super friendly, like deliberately super friendly and inclusive open mics, and you cannot be a stand-up without going to mics.
Mhm.
And that's the only way you work your stuff out. So many more, all the way up to there are so many more women and people of color and all sorts of representing all sorts of diversity in positions of power.
Mhm.
So it's creating shows where so many different types of people are represented.
Yeah.
So like it's night and day.
Mhm.
And there are so many more platforms where you can uh certainly open mics, but there's so many more platforms where social TikTok, Instagram, etc.,
Yeah.
where you can develop, refine, practice different types of comedy that didn't exist before. What we call now front-facing comedy, where you can develop a character all by yourself that you repeat and develop and build a following. And can you be an overnight success any faster than you used to be? Probably not. It still takes about 10 years to be an overnight success.
Sure.
But there's so many different ways for you to be seen. First of all, for you to develop your work,
Mhm.
and then also for you to put your work out there. Like it's a lot of work, but it's not impossible to make your own web series.
Sure.
And let us remember that Broad City and Insecure and I think Drunk History and more
Yeah.
started as web series.
Yeah.
So like that's not a fool's errand. So all those things are like I can't tell you how much better.
Sure.
And then and yet I still talk to stand-ups all the time who are like, "Yeah, I was the only woman on the lineup again, trombone, wah, wah."
Yeah.
Or I just talked to someone the other day who said that they were asked to just move their spot in a lineup because they didn't wanna put the 2 women in the lineup up next to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, let's not put the 2 dudes next to each other," said no one ever.
Right.
Like,
Right.
what even like, what and there was also a well-known club in Boston. I don't wanna embarrass Nick's comedy
Sure.
by saying it, but it's Nick's comedy, and which has done great things for the comedy world, but they had a show called Chicks at Nick's recently, which I'm like, "First of all, come on, is it the 1980s? Like, just can we
Right.
not?"
Right.
And you're still telling what you're telling people is that men are comics and women are the other comics.
Mhm.
It doesn't make us special, it makes us sidelined to when
Mhm.
you do that, right? Second of all, the graphic was special. The graphic was the photos of the comics who were appearing,
Uh-huh.
photoshopped poorly on the bodies of naked Barbies in 2025. And like, I don't care if, like, individual comics like, if the comics on the lineup, like, didn't mind it. I don't care, like, I have no judgment about them and their
Sure.
choices, I really don't. I'm just saying, "Nick, do you want fewer customers? Like, what do you
Well,
want?" Like, that's a choice
it's also like
to
what it's exactly. It's a choice. And like what is funny about that? Like what
it's not
is
funny. It's not funny, and it's sending
yeah.
a message. They're like, this is what we said before. Their club, any club like that, let's not because Nick's is
Sure,
not the
sure.
only offender, so let's
Sure.
not, like, harsh only on Nick's, but, like, their their club is a workplace.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a workplace,
Yeah.
and it's a place that has customers. So, at best, they're telling a whole bunch of customers that they think basically half their customers are, less valuable than others, number 1.
Mhm.
So, okay, I guess I'll take my money elsewhere. So that's dumb as a business decision. And then also, it's a workplace. Can you imagine if like a law firm did
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I know it's comedy, I get it. It's not a fair comparison, but like I it's just bizarre to me. It's just bizarre to
Yeah,
me.
like what
So,
are you
like
conveying? Yeah, like it's just yeah.
right, you're telling us that you are less interested in promote that you are less interested in legitimately nurturing the talent of of half the people who work for you, or I guess
Mhm.
less than half.
Mhm.
And that's just dumb business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it gets into this also this conversation of in recent, at least from my perception, in recent years, there's been this backlash from certain comedians, tend to be male comedians, of like, oh, you can't be funny anymore. You can't, you can't make a joke anymore. And I'm like, no, you're just being held accountable. And I forget who said, I don't know if it was Mark Maron recently said it. It was like, are you happy? You got what you wanted. You can make fun of trans people now. Like, are you happy?
Yeah,
Like, and
I
I
love
just,
Mark Maron. Yeah.
I do too. And I guess I don't know that there's a question in here other than like, what are your thoughts around that? It's been really disappointing to me as a consumer of comedians that I really enjoyed and I really liked and I thought put out some really great stuff for them to be boo-hooing about they can't make a joke at the expense of a marginalized community, whether it's women or
I
trans people or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. It just seems it's like an old man like shouting at the clouds. It's really sad to
yeah.
me. But
I have a lot of thoughts.
yeah.
One of them is just like work harder.
Yeah, like it's not funny. It's not.
It's just not,
I mean, I
and
guess some
it's
people think it's funny, but like,
that's fine. Well, first of all, yes. First of all, you don't have to work harder. You actually can do any joke you want
yeah,
and you will find an audience.
sure.
In fact, I would like to point out that a lot of the people who have been saying that they've been canceled and can't say anything anymore say it on stage at Madison Square fucking
Yes.
Garden. Okay. So, like, you're fine.
You're
Okay.
good.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, cry me a frickin' river. You're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Also, you can say whatever you want. Two things will happen. One is there may be a consequence. Some
Yep.
people will not like you.
Yep.
And the other consequence is that some people will like you
Sure.
and you will find your audience and you will be fine. So stop your belly aching. You really still can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
can just choose not to listen. It's fine.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I don't really understand. It's very easy to have this conversation without even talking about being nice.
Mhm.
In other words, you know, j I don't wanna get into the whole, like, science of jokes, but it's actually pretty
I'm
simple, and
curious.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
I mean, it's super simple. Typically, like, almost every single joke or like a stand-up joke
Mhm.
involves is, you know, setup, punch.
Mhm.
And what happens between the setup and the punch is a twist. You get surprised.
Mhm.
The comic tells you, you think I'm going this way, but I'm going this way. Like the best one of all, super sexist, but it's a classic.
Yeah.
Take my wife, please.
Please. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
an amazing joke. Four
Yeah.
words, an amazing joke, right? We forgive
Yeah.
the old fashioned sexism because that is an amazing joke,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, so there's surprise involved. And then with the surprise comes delight. And so now I'm like, okay, so if your jokes about people in wheelchairs are that their chairs have wheels, where's the surprise?
Right.
If your jokes about people of short stature are that they're short,
Right.
I'm not interested. Now, I can separately be offended because I'm not interested in ableist jokes. I think they're mean and I think they're, punching down.
Mhm.
But like to me, that is a worthwhile but separate conversation. That if your joke about people who are short is telling me that they're short, that's not a good joke.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, you guys just freaking work harder. It's not a joke yet.
Yeah. It's not a joke yet. You gotta keep going. Yeah. Yeah. It's been it's interesting to see because it is mirroring what we're seeing at large in society, right? And this harm and cruelty, and the cruelty is the point, and it's interesting to see at every level, but it takes me back to what you said earlier about, comedy is a cultural force. And we're all sitting around. It feels good. It feels good to laugh. It feels good to be surprised and delighted. It feels good to be in a room with people who are
It even
also
feels good to
laughing.
be mean sometimes.
Sometimes,
Like,
yeah,
let's be I don't wanna
totally.
sound like a prima donna, like,
Yeah.
if it's the right target, please, Pete Hegseth, absolutely go to town.
Yeah.
He is go to town,
Yeah,
you know?
sure. But I think it's interesting to think about because we think about it as fun, right? Like comedy is
Mhm.
fun, but can you talk a little bit as a cultural force, a cultural movement, how it can shift? Yeah, frankly, it can shift policies in many ways in the way that we see each other.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it can, if at least, if nothing else, it can sort of create air cover to
Mhm,
like push things toward acceptability such that when it comes to the policy question, when it comes to the vote, whatever it
mhm,
is, then like the color of the air has changed a little bit.
mhm.
I mean, the obvious and super dated example is Ellen DeGeneres coming out on her
Right,
show.
right.
I'm old enough to remember that. And like
Yeah,
it seems quaint now, but let me tell you, it was not
that
quaint
was a
back
big
then. You
deal,
know, it's a big
huge.
deal. And it was a little peculiar that it was like to me, like it was, I mean, there's no full stop. It was a huge deal. But I'm also like, does no one remember? It felt like it wasn't as new as it felt. Like, does no one Billy Crystal on Soap, super gay, you know? Like I mean, he was out and
Yeah,
gay. Like
yeah.
and so I'm kind of wondering like what was the moment where we had to like to me it wasn't that there were no gay characters until Ellen. To me it was the moment where we as a culture decided that we had to name it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because and the other thing I'll say is like I also don't want to sound like too much of a like a fuddy duddy because like I also think you can make jokes about anything,
Mhm,
and I really do.
mhm,
And but to be very precise, and this is where you're to answer your question, to be very precise, you can make a joke about any topic.
mhm.
What matters is what the joke is. And what matters is who's the target of the joke and the point of the joke and the intended impact of the joke.
Mhm,
Like, for example, I interviewed last night in my company, Gold Comedy, in our
mhm,
membership community. We interviewed actually a good friend of mine, Erin Pearlstein, who like made a film about, I'm going to say the third rail of comedy, which is she made a very well received film called The Last Laugh, which is about humor and the Holocaust.
mhm.
And so like if we have that, we can do anything, right?
Yeah.
But what where the precision happens needs to happen, and then where the change can happen is I'll cite another one. You should definitely watch The Last Laugh, but Cameron Esposito also has a great online show that you can find called Rape Jokes Audacious.
Mm,
But what it's about is not like, let me just state the obvious. It's not making fun of rape.
mhm,
It's making fun of the culture that perpetuates rape.
mm.
Like it makes fun of the idea. I'm making this up, but like it makes fun of the idea that like when we were in high school, we were told we could prevent rape with a rape whistle. A
Mhm.
whistle,
Right,
like a
right,
whistle. And
right,
so like that's a joke about rape, but it's not a joke about raping. It's a
right,
joke about how we have been so wrong this whole time about who's responsible and that we put the onus on the women to not be raped. Like it's
right,
about rape culture and blah, blah, blah,
right,
blah, so
right.
like and so when and it's like, you don't, we were so steeped in that culture, we didn't think about it. We were just like, don't walk through the park after dark.
Yeah.
And carry my mom made me carry a hat pin, a
Oh,
hat
yeah,
pin.
hold your key in between your
Hold your
fingers.
key, all these
Yeah,
things.
all
And
these things.
no one, not one single person, not one single person. I mean, maybe if they were, I never met them or heard of them, was saying like, son, let's have a talk.
Yeah, right.
And so, and if they were individuals. It wasn't part of the culture. So anyway, if you're the comedian that's making jokes about that, then you get a bunch of people, when the time is right, then you get a bunch of people going, "Oh my god, I
Right,
never thought of it that way."
right, right.
So then you start creating air cover for different kinds of programs in schools, different kinds
Mhm.
of, it's not the only thing that does it. It won't be just because, I saw Cameron Esposito and now I'm introducing federal legislation. It's not
Right,
that
sure.
simple. But it push it, it's just pushing all the time on entrenched ways of thinking
Yeah,
that need to change. And
yeah,
you can certainly do that with the most uncomfortable and unpleasant topics. And comedians who are good at it are great at it.
yeah. And you have to be precise. I mean, that's
Precise.
tricky and it's
Yeah.
difficult and yeah, it is very different than saying, "Hey, you're short and that's funny." Like what we were talking about before. The think about Ellen, and I remember that too, and it was such a big deal. And you're right, there were gay characters, but the impact I think was because Ellen was gay. It was her coming out at the same
That's
time
true. Yeah.
as the character. But
Really, that's true. That's
again,
true.
thinking about it now, it's still like, what? Like,
I know.
it's
It's
really, I don't know, looking back on it, it's so fascinating to look at that and see the cultural like, whoa, and it was on People, right? Like, yep, I'm gay, and she was on Oprah and the whole thing. And now I don't think I mean, I could be wrong, like, I don't think we think about it that much, but we're regressing in terms of rights, so
yeah.
it's interesting about how we address it at this time, and you're working with women and minorities and non-binary and trans people and basically lots of marginalized or underrepresented folks. And there's a show on HBO I love, Somebody Somewhere. Like I just am
Ah,
obsessed with that show.
yeah.
It's
The
unbelievable.
best. It's
It's
unbelievable.
if listeners haven't watched it, like sign up for your free HBO Max or whatever. It is unbelievable. It is precise. It is thoughtful. It's emotional. And the reason I bring this up is because there are gay and non-binary characters. The main character is a woman. There's a relationship with sisters. I mean, it really hits so many pieces.
And
And what
like
I
gender expansive,
Yes, very gender expansive.
chemistry
Thank you.
teacher.
Yep, yep. And the thing that's different than Schitt's Creek, and that was incredible too. But the thing that's different about Schitt's Creek from Somebody Somewhere that I thought is these could be your neighbors. Like
Absolutely.
at a certain point, I stopped thinking about the fact that there were, gender expansion and gay characters and whatever. It was so relatable. And that is powerful. I mean, it's just
Yep.
so powerful.
So powerful.
I loved in Schitt's Creek how they made the decision that like they just weren't going to address it. Like it was just fine.
Yeah.
They lived in a world where it was just fine. And I loved that too. I was like, what a
Yeah.
revolution. Like
I know.
incredible. So
I know.
I'm wondering with your is students the right word or members? What's the right word?
Members. Yeah.
Members.
Mhm.
So with your members,
Members, creators, whatever.
how are they approaching it? Right? Like how are they approaching their experience? Because as we talked about, like comedy is this shared experience. So how are they approaching it? What are some cool, unique things that you're seeing or creative things that you're seeing with your members?
I love that question. First, let me brag.
Please.
Also, that we, if you, if you want to join Gold and get
Yeah.
access to our insane resource library, a few things that you will see is all the work we've done with Bridget Everett and Murray Hill
Mm,
and Jeff Hiller, Emmy
wow.
award-winning Jeff Hiller. 'Cause I know Murray from the neighbor from comedy stuff, who is Fred Rococo on Somebody Somewhere, the nicest person in the world,
Mm,
and actually kind of really like that
I love
in real
that.
life. And Jeff and Bridget, they could not be they are exactly as nice as you think they are, and exactly as, like, ungate they're busier now than they used to be, but, like, exactly as ungate-kept
Mm,
and genuine,
mhm,
as they are on the show.
mhm.
So there you go, you're welcome, and you can see our recorded conversations. We've done interviews with all of them, and then Murray has hosted a bunch of our online shows, so you can find like our
Cool.
Pride show and stuff, so you can find him there. Anyway, so bragging, advertorial, there you go. But I
Appropriately so,
think,
yeah.
but I think that what we're able to do kind of happens naturally, and that is our members are almost entirely, almost entirely women. There are a few dudes, few cis dudes, yeah, a few like gay, trans, like, but our members are automatically just diverse.
Sure.
And we have so that when we do a show, just like, our monthly super chill online stand-up showcase, it's just people doing comedy. It's
Yeah.
not like the special diversity night,
Yeah.
And also when which God help us, I mean, I love a good diversity night, but like we'll know we have won when we don't have them anymore. Do you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is we have 6 teams making digital sketches. So,
Mm,
like I think you should leave, like, that
yeah.
actually which just wrapped, but, and, like, Lonely Island, and they make content that we it's actually a great cycle. They audition, they apply to join. We
Mhm.
create teams based on the skills that are needed in each digital production team. So, of course, you need talent and writers, but you also need people who know production, editing.
Yeah.
So we sort of like sorting hat them so that they have a team. We even have a couple of virtual teams that are not based in a particular city, but rather you can actually make a digital sketch without being in the same room. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, but what happens is when you just have a group of people who are already, a bunch of women, trans people, gay people, whatever, then the work they make isn't necessarily about that.
Mhm.
It's just funny. It's just that. And so you might have, let's say there's a sketch of people shopping in a store for a wedding ring or something. The couple might be straight, they might be bi, they might be, we don't know, they might, and it's just like part of the fabric. It's part of the wallpaper.
Yeah.
And so they don't necessarily have to find humor in their identities. Their identities are who they are as creators.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there. We do my favorite sort of identity show that we do, that we've done a bunch actually, is every once in a while we do a stand-up show that's only for people who consider themselves on the spectrum,
Mm.
and they typically talk about, just their own experiences, and it is side splitting. I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely just side splitting. So we do that a little bit, but there was demand. So,
Sure.
they said, "Can we do it?" And we were like, "Yeah."
Sure.
So the identity stuff really just shows up organically and is the
Mhm.
choice of the creators,
Mhm.
as opposed to, back in the day when you're on a sketch team or an improv team and you're the only woman, and so therefore you play the part of the woman.
Right. 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 And the woman as defined by someone who's not a woman. It's like
Right.
yeah.
And you're definitely either a waitress or a prostitute. I
Yeah.
mean, you're never an astrophysicist.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I'm a cis woman and I'm in my 40s. I'll be 43 this January. And I was recently rewatching Clueless again.
Mm,
And I stopped and looked it up and I was like, a woman did this. A woman did this movie. Like you can tell.
you
You
can tell.
and again, I am anti-patriarchy. I'm not anti-man, but I'm just tired of all my entertainment being so skewed male. Like I'm just exhausted by it. So there is a demand and I love it's not that I need content about more white women. I mean, we're kind of at our quota with that, but like it's just a different
Okay.
it's a perspective, right? And it's a
Yeah.
different thing. And that's the other thing about, somebody somewhere, take that as an example of these are people who have had life experiences that I will never have. And that's interesting to me, right? Like we've never seen
Yeah.
some of these things. So I love that your creators are able to bring that to a space where we are just flooded with, frankly, kind of the same old, right? Like, and sometimes that's comforting, but it's nice that they're able to expand that for all of us and to be able to see things that we didn't think about or start seeing ourselves represented in a way that's not a prostitute or a waitress, right? Like,
Right. And I mean, no shade to either profession. And
no,
it's great
hey.
because since we can create a large body of work,
Mhm.
then like we do have one of my favorite sketches is about I'll try not to give it away, but it's a take on apartment therapy. But what you realize where she gives you a tour of her apartment, but what you start to realize is that she's actually obsessed with her ex and it's her ex's apartment. And she's like I mean, she's like psychotic,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if we did only sketches that that were like bro vibe sketches, and that was just the one with a woman, then we'd be like, okay, the one with
Yeah.
woman is about like your psycho ex.
Right.
But since we have such breadth, we've got room for psycho ex because
Sure.
she's just one of a million other things that are funny, and it's really funny in context, and it's really well executed. And so we have the room to do that. And I will also say, and this is like you've given me, you didn't realize it, but you gave me a perfect another
Perfect.
advertorial moment. But I really mean this as sort of inspiration for your listeners in terms of like jobs that they didn't know they could still have, which is we have a class called Develop and Pitch Any Idea.
Hmm.
And one of the sort of the strongest, like most powerful subgroups of people who take this class are women in their 40s, 50s plus
Yeah.
who may or may not have a background somewhere in entertainment. Some do, but they're not necessarily, they might be like, they might have been like, you know, doing, in insights for CBS. There's, something that's
Sure.
not, they
Sure.
weren't producing comedy, creating comedy, or they might have nothing to do with it at all. We have someone now who's a veterinary oncology surgeon who's in the class. And what brings them together is that, or they have in common, is that they all have two things. It's a moment and it's a thing. The thing is that they all have an idea
Mhm.
that may or may not be fully formed for a story, a thing, a haunted amusement park, a haunted historical amusement park, or something autobiographical, like everyone in my family is a dentist, or
Yeah.
like there's something there.
Yeah.
And they also are at a time in their life when they're like, is my nest actually empty? Or am I comfortable enough in my career that I'm still working hard, but I'm not striving?
Mhm.
Or am I ready to pivot? Or do I have the mental and emotional space for a really serious side hustle? And when those things come together, you get this class full of women who are like, I am going to make my show. And it could be a TV show, could be a film, could be a podcast, could be unscripted, whatever.
Yeah.
Typically, it's a TV show, but it doesn't matter. And it's taught by Ryan Cunningham, who, no big deal, was executive producer of Broad City, Search Party, Inside
Mhm.
Amy Schumer, and her vision. She's first of all amazing at like leading you through this framework of not just like it's not like a pitching class. You do pitch, it's
Mhm.
important, but it's not just like how do you make a great deck. It's how do you get your idea to the point where your pitch is the purest, most passionate expression of your idea in language that TV development people can understand.
Yeah.
And she is really driven to find these people who have these ideas and have these stories and have the energy to put into developing them, but who aren't part of the industry, who don't
Right.
know, like, what do I do with this idea? Like,
Right. Right.
but whose ideas are as valid as any others that kind of get created in the sort of, network factories.
Yeah.
So like, I just want to say to our listeners that like, whoever you are, what's your job is,
Yeah.
that if you have that idea that's like on your heart, in your drawer, stuck in your craw, you actually, whether it's with us or someone else, like
Sure.
you really could do that thing.
Yeah.
And people from that class do go on to get their shows into development. They get celebrities attached. They write the pilot, then they win awards for it at festivals. Like they do become a thing. It's not just a creative exercise. So it's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I'm realizing as you're talking, I don't think we've actually talked exactly what gold comedy is. So I'm really curious about like if I go online, I see this membership, what is it? What am I seeing?
So we operate on a membership basis. So what you would do is you would join for the year.
Mhm.
You would have a 2-week free trial. You would get a chance to then poke around our online headquarters,
Mhm.
where you would find the schedule of classes coming up. Almost all of which are online.
Cool.
You would, and really friendly to all levels.
Mhm.
You would see our weekly event calendar, which includes a weekly open mic that is super friendly, and you can also just come to like hang out. And we offer feedback, which is really nice. You can just come and hang out and meet people. We have a special dedicated sketch comedy curriculum
Mm.
that is actually a school year's worth of content that you can do asynchronously, but also has a weekly writers room where you hang out with other people, again, all online. We have every Wednesday, we have an online Q&A with either someone like Bridget Everett or Jeff Hiller or Murray Hill, or someone famous. We had Fern Pearlstein, who I mentioned
Yeah.
last night. People who are involved in comedy and entertainment, either who you already know and love, or who you've never met, or didn't even know that their job was a job
Right.
until you meet them, and now you're like, I kind of want their job.
Yeah.
What if they're behind the camera or sort of behind the scenes, doing other aspects of production or development, etc. So so there's those weekly events. There are the classes, and then the reason we design it that you pay by the year versus by the class
Hmm.
is that the community is the glue.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other
Yeah.
places, which are a lot of the great places where you can kind of dip in and out and take a class, here and there. But what we want to create is a community and a professional network that you can rely on, with things for you to do and people for you to meet and stuff for you to make between classes,
Hmm.
where you can, just throw something up in our feed and say, what do you guys think of this? Or
Yeah.
where if you have a show, one of our members, Rachel, has a show, a hilarious comic play coming up this weekend in New York called Saint Hospital City, that is coming up in New York this weekend. And so it's on the calendar so that New York members know to go to it. Or you find people who can, I'm visiting Austin. Who wants to go to a mic with me? That
Cool.
kind of thing. So
Cool.
that's really the glue of it.
Yeah.
And then typically people stay, more than 1 year because of that, because there's this
Sure.
continuity and collaboration and community. One and the way the things like kind of go together. Like one person, we have a medical doctor who took the pitching class, or I should say the idea development class, and then for a TV show that she wanted to host. And so Ryan, the instructor, said, "Well, a great next step for you would be to take the stand-up class, their stand-up boot camp class, because you're comfortable on camera, but it'll be really cool for you to practice joke structure and that kind of
Sure.
thing." So like you can sort of either just be like, "I'm here for stand-up and that's all I'm doing," or "I'm here to join a sketch team and that's all I'm doing," or you can forge a path that builds the career that you want,
Yeah.
that combines different types of comedy and different types of skills.
Yeah. And that is so awesome. And I also love that you're removing the physical barriers. Like if you can't do UCB or you can't do Second C or whatever, right? Like it's really accessible to people, right?
Yeah,
If you're online.
yeah, yeah,
And I love that. And I love the diversity of backgrounds in there too. Like I love that there's a doctor who's,
totally.
yeah, it makes
We
it
have like
more.
several doctors now.
Huh.
We have the veterinarian, we have a DO who's a gynecologist, we have I feel like we have, and then we have Lippy, who I just mentioned. I feel like we have one more who just joined. I feel like we have a sex expert. I can't, so like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. So
Yeah.
people from, really all different careers who either want to enhance it with comedy or who are
Yeah.
really just like, I'm going for comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think, and maybe this isn't the right question because there are like lots of different, we just talked about so many different genres within comedy, right? But what is maybe a common mistake that first timers, if I'm coming from my day job into gold comedy, like what's maybe a common mistake that you see with people, and what would your recommendation be if you're new to this and you're starting out? Like how should maybe people should think about approaching it?
One thing, this isn't the only thing, but one thing I hear, and it's kind of a charming, it's very sweet, but one thing I hear is, "Oh, I can't do the mic because I haven't written any new material,"
Yeah.
or I can't do X because I haven't written new material. Now, do you always need to be writing new material? Yes. But equally important is getting in your reps on the material you've already written,
Mm,
so that when you have a show that matters, what you're able to do is intersperse the stuff that you have now done 1 million times
right.
and know it works, and you intersperse it with maybe something you're still working out a little bit, but you do that and it's fine, but then you go back to your anchor, et cetera, et cetera. So this idea that like it always has to be all new all the time is impressive but incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we always tell people, no, do it again. Like also we love that bit about snoring, like whatever it is,
Right. Yeah.
like then your audience loves you because they're like, oh, she's doing the one
Yeah.
about the carrots,
Yeah.
so that it's like it's both, that you have to be constantly trying out new things and refining and doing the stuff over and over and over. And if you get sick of it, put it away for a little while.
Yeah.
But typically, if it's working, you don't get sick of it.
Yeah.
So that's one sort of misconception that people come in with that we quickly disabuse them of.
Mhm. Is this a misperception on my part? I have always thought, like, when I'm watching a show or a movie, and I've always thought it must be so fun to create this with other comedians of, like, make it funnier, make it sillier. Like, I really love
So
silly,
fun.
goofy. Like, it must be so fun and good challenging, right? Like, make that sillier, make that funnier, make that more out there. How do we land this? Like, is it fun? I mean, is it, or are people just
So fun.
incorrigible?
That's why we have classes.
Yeah,
That's why we don't have, like, soundproof booth.
yeah,
That's why we have classes.
yeah.
That's why and honestly, that's why people take our classes are also designed so you can take them over and over again, and you
Mhm.
can 'cause it's the same cost, I mean, you already
Sure.
paid, so
Yeah,
and that's one reason people do it because of certainly because of the accountability and structure, but also because, yeah, it's fun. Like, comedy really happens in that kind of the good kind of crucible,
yeah,
where you you try stuff out, you get feedback. All of our classes are include feedback, not just from the instructor, but from the class.
yeah.
And, our rule is you don't have to take someone's suggestion, but you have to at least, because it's your joke,
Sure.
but you have to at least listen and ponder,
Yeah,
and so people would be like, okay, love the first line, just a pitch for the second part, what if it was this? And then even if they don't take the suggestion, everyone gets a laugh from the idea. And then
right.
everyone's like, well, what if you, well, what you, and that also certainly happens in our sketch classes as well,
Yeah,
where people are really collaborating on, what's the funniest way we can, what are the funniest three beats of the scene? What's the funniest way we can heighten this? Have we heightened it enough?
right,
Can we heighten it even more?
right.
How can we go nuts? Let's heighten it until it's too much and
Yeah.
then we'll bring it back. Like, that's super fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that it is really fun because,
Super fun.
you just never know. Like, work is work, but it seems really enjoyable, and I'm a big Conan O'Brien fan, and when I listen to his podcast, and he'll have a guest on, and it's like, all of a sudden, they're riffing as, like, Nixon and a hot dog talking to each other, and it's so goofy and
How
funny.
did we get here?
How
Yeah.
did we get here? And
Yeah.
and what strikes me is that, like, not everyone's gonna like that, and that's okay, those aren't your people, and that's okay, right? And so,
Yep.
I'm sure that's one of those things where people learn that and can apply it to other things outside of comedy. I took an improv class years ago, just for fun, and I feel like I was better at my day job because of it. I learned how to take
Yeah.
critique in a different way. You gotta be fast, and you gotta work with other people, you gotta anticipate, but allow space. I learned so much from that.
A couple things that you just made me think of. One is like, I'm not sure that whether or not you're funnier is the measure
No.
of the success of your class because, and I know you know that, but what I'm saying is so much of comedy, this is another misconception. So much of comedy training is about what you're doing. I like hockey, so we'll use the hockey
Sure.
analogy. What you're doing when you don't have the puck,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
being quiet, listening, watch it play out, read the room. What's going on? Where is this going? It's as much the stuff you don't
Yep.
say. And it's super true of improv, but it's also true. I mean, that helps you like be on a panel. That helps you, know when you have to get in there on a panel, and it helps you know when you don't need to say
Yeah.
anything on a panel,
Yeah.
and or just in a meeting, whatever. Like it just the times that you are not talking are equally important. And that doesn't feel like being funny, but it is the same training
Yeah.
for the same skills.
Yeah.
And the second thing is and again, this has changed a lot. We're not the only place that's like this. I mean, we're unique in all the ways we're unique,
Sure.
but but you're right that like it's just fun is so much more true if you're in a place where you're not the only 45-year-old woman
Right.
and the rest of them are perfectly nice white dudes who are 25 with
Yeah.
backpacks and hoodies. Like,
Yeah.
fine. Like, they might be very nice, but like, you're not gonna, like, not everyone is gonna be fewer people are gonna be your person in that
Right.
room,
Right.
probably. And we like to make it as safe as possible and I'm
Yeah.
gonna use this word in quotes, fail, you
Yeah.
know, to
Yeah.
like just be a goofball, just be stupid,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, uh, And, you know, a joke doesn't land when a joke in our world, when a joke doesn't land, no one's like, "Well, women aren't funny."
Right. Right.
Whereas in all those other worlds, your joke doesn't land, guess what? Your entire gender just lost a point,
Way to go,
you know?
Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thanks. So it's like the safest, friendliest, like, we don't
That's
care
awesome.
if your joke
Yeah.
doesn't land, you have another joke.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Is there anything that is maybe surprising you about your members and in their creativity and sort of this I don't know if like next generation is the right language, but like anything surprising to you that you're seeing?
I mean, I don't wanna repeat myself, but I did not expect to see this, like, powerful cohort of women in midlife
Yeah.
showing up and being like, because they showed up without our even trying. Like,
Right.
the audience we market to is, people who are serious about comedy, typically women or, others who are super serious about comedy or their creative side hustles
Yeah.
in their 20s, 30s, like,
Sure.
we don't exclude anybody else, but, like, they just started showing up, and they were just like, "I got my food, I can't stand it anymore,"
Yeah.
and we were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hello, come
Yeah.
on in." And
Yeah.
so once I realized why they were there, I was not surprised at all,
Yeah.
but when they started knocking, I was like, "Huh,"
Hmm.
and now I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I was, sharing with you beforehand, like that was the genesis of this podcast. Like I have talked by virtue of my day job, like talked to so many interesting people who are just regular people. And, they're all, and first of all, no one thinks they're interesting. And I'm like, you're really interesting. And then and people would be like, "Oh, I work in finance." And so many times they'd be like, "Oh, great." And I'm like, What is that? I don't understand what that is. Like, what is finance?" And, it's a combination of being nosy and just thinking that the world is a really big and interesting place. And but it took me a long time to actually do it, right? Like it was sitting there for a long time. So I love that other middle-aged women are like coming in and taking these ideas and moving them forward.
Yeah, and they're really serious. I
Yeah.
mean, we have a member named Billy who she's from the world of public health. She has a teenage son who coincidentally is into stand-up. She does a little stand-up, but
Uh-huh.
really her background is public health, and she developed a pitch and then a pilot for a hilarious TV show called Batshit Debbie that is now, like, in the works. Like,
That's
she has someone
awesome.
attached to it. It's happening, and she's, like, public health person in the Northwest Pacific Northwest who.
Yeah.
She's very funny, she's very talented, she's very dedicated, but, like, she is not the same as the recent college grads that we have
Yeah.
who are all equally awesome in different ways.
Yeah.
Or there's Rocky, who I didn't talk about Rocky yet, did I? I gotta tell you about
No.
Rocky. So, uh, so similar, Rocky is a young grandmother in Siler City, North Carolina, who is, not super near a place where she could do a lot of mics, that kind of thing. She is a retired high school art teacher. She will tell you that she taught high school art for 7 years, 24 weeks. Sorry, 7 years, 6 months, 9 weeks, 4 days, and 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can tell how much she liked it. And the way she tells it is that when she found us, she was like, "I know I'm funny, but I don't know what to do about it.
Sure.
I don't know how to write a joke. I don't know like, I
Right.
make people laugh, and I could feel it. I know I'm doing something, but, like,
Yeah.
tell me what the math is here."
Right.
And there wasn't a clear place for her to learn near her,
Mhm.
and there wasn't an obvious crowd for her to hang with. She helps take care of her grandchildren. She has an adult son who needs extra care.
Mhm.
And she put her head down and worked and worked and worked. I think she holds the record for taking our stand-up class the most times just
Yeah. Sure.
for the accountability. And I just finally met her because she came to New York City to debut her solo show,
Wow.
her first half hour of comedy that she did here and she did in Manhattan. And now, we're figuring out what's next with her show because she's supremely talented. But, like, she was
Yeah.
Rocky the retired high school art teacher
Yeah.
and volunteer firefighter in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
now she's also writing for a sketch team near her home. Like, that's what happens.
That's a big deal. It's a big
Yeah.
deal. And I think it also emphasize like I want to emphasize the point that like I think so often we think success is SNL or we think success is a movie or
Right.
something like that. Like Rocky's story is a huge success. To get to that point is incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. So that's amazing. And it's nice that you created that space for people to explore and to see what they can do and to get these
Right.
stories out.
Yeah, and
That's
we're
really
really
cool.
dedicated to sorry to interrupt, but we're really
No.
dedicated to not just helping build skills, but help them get their stuff out there.
Yes.
We have a web series on Fox Soul, which is a streaming subsidiary of Fox that our members created. It's called Late Bloomers. It's on
Mhm.
Fox Soul right now. You can go watch it.
Cool.
Just go to Fox Soul and look for Late Bloomers because, as I was saying before, there's so many more platforms and like
Yeah.
channels metaphorically where you can get your stuff out. So we're really committed not just to be like, okay, now you know how to write jokes, but like, okay, where can we help you get your stuff made, produced, seen, etc.
Right.
And so we'll work with Rocky to see what we can do with her, and then to help her. And then Late Bloomers is already out there. We have a web series called Rat Czar, which our members created that I also recommend. You can find it on YouTube. So we really also care about creating content and getting people seen, and not just sort of now I can tell a joke. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Really getting it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to ask this. Do you still get mistaken for Tanya Harding?
No, so super short version of that story is at the time, which is 1992, I believe it was, the Lillehammer
Yeah.
Olympics and the whole scandal. It just so happened that I was a figure skater, huge fan of Tanya Harding,
Uh-huh.
had blonde hair. Anytime you see my hair color, it is fake.
Oh,
And at
yeah.
the time it was blonde. And so I lived in Boston, which is where I'm from, which was Nancy country. And I bizarrely didn't think about it because I was already a huge fan of Tanya Harding. I knew her for years. I used to like
Yeah.
be such a dork. I would watch like the regionals and I would watch I was like, who is she? She's amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't start noticing anything until I would be like literally walking down the street in Boston with my skates and a blonde ponytail, and people would like slow down their car and be like, "Hey, Tanya, go home." And I'd be like, "What are you?" And it basically back when we had fewer things to talk about
Mm,
and fewer channels, literal channels, and also just channels. The big news of the whatever was that there's a person who looks exactly like Tanya Harding who lives in Boston. Like that was it. And the other short version, so it ballooned into this whole media.
yeah.
I was on all these talk shows and radio shows for a lookalike. Mm,
Yeah.
Um, but the thing that's kind of the funny twist on it was that I actually loved her, and everyone assumed that I would sort of join in on the pig pile on Tanya,
Yeah.
which even back then I was like, now I'm only 22 years old, but I took women's studies,
Yeah.
and I know that the criticisms of her are rooted in classism and
Sure.
misogyny, and I can't really put my finger on it,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
they're bad and wrong.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of funny because I was like, on the one hand, I was getting asked to do these things, where I'm like, okay, I wanted I wanna go into comedy. I can't say no to Ricky Lake, but
Sure.
also I love Tanya. So it was
Right.
I was not very consistent, and I was not proud of all the things that I said yes to as a young aspiring
Sure.
whatever. So it was kind of a mixed bag, but it was a really bizarre and telling episode that looking back, like inc it's incredible how persistent those now proven wrong biases were, and that's why I loved I, Tonya. There's also like a
Yeah.
great documentary on ESPN that
Mhm.
actually supports the theory that I support, which is that I don't think she knew.
Yeah.
I just don't think I don't think she would have I don't think she knew that those boneheads were
No.
doing that thing. And we could have a whole nother episode
Yeah.
on that whole thing because I have a lot of thoughts. But what I do know is she was an amazing athlete, and the cultural forces that aligned against her
Mhm.
were despicable
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
and obviously misogynist and obviously classist.
Yeah.
And the fact that we all were just like, LOL,
Haha. Yeah.
is just embarrassing, and we really ruined the career of a great athlete.
It is really interesting when we look back and see things that were like, even when we knew certain things weren't quite right, like what you were saying, like there's classism and misogyny and some other stuff going on here, right? I I feel like you must see that a lot in comedy. I like take my wife, please, right? Like there's certain societal norms. And I'm just curious, and maybe there isn't an answer to this. Maybe this is an answer to anything cultural, but like it feels like there's just sort of this slow progression of things changing, and some things we look back on and it's still really funny. Like I Love Lucy is still really funny, right?
Hilarious.
So funny.
Yep,
And then there's stuff from that time
absolutely
period where you're like,
aged well.
this is terrible, like,
Yeah.
and it was a
And
hit at the time.
I know, and it's like, I think about that, and even, like right, because you could look back at, like, her being the troublemaker and him being here's what it is. Okay, I just had a deep thought. It was always, like, her being the troublemaker and him being like, "Lucy,"
Lucy.
and but guess what? Okay, this is brilliant, and, like, remind me because 'cause I'm gonna write an essay about this, or at least a LinkedIn post,
Perfect.
and that and that is I think the reason that that stuff ages well is that think about maybe it's changing, but think
Mhm.
about, like, the typical commercial now with
Yeah.
that's for, like, detergent or Swiffer or cat food, whatever, and there is science behind this. There are it is statistically true that it is more likely for the man to be the funny one in the commercial,
Mm,
and the woman to be the one who goes,
yeah.
for those of you not watching, I
That
just did the whole put my
guy.
hand on my hip and
Yeah.
be like, "Bruce,
Yeah.
like, when will he learn?"
Yeah.
And so I think one of the reasons, and this is not a fully formed thought, but I think I'm onto something. I think one of the reasons that even though there was so much sexism and even racism and all the stuff
Yeah.
that they didn't do the racism, but like it was funny
Yeah.
that he had an accent. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, but like she was the goofy one, and he was the one going, Lucy,
Yeah.
and she was just like, "What? Shut up! I'm me."
Yeah.
And that's not what we see now,
Yeah.
and even in just commercials. So I don't know. I think that's kind of why it ages well. And
Yeah.
I just watched a clip on TV where on YouTube where it was her and Ethel singing the together wherever we go, and like they're and Fred and Desi are just sitting at the table looking at them, and they're going like, "My God, our wives are cute."
Yeah.
And like
Yes.
they can't usually like they want to be frowning. They want to
Yeah.
be like, they're goofballs. They should be cleaning the sink.
Yeah.
But they're just like they can't resist. And they're just like, ugh. And it's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say when you were talking about that, like, "Oh, Lucy," like, there it wasn't admonishing in that way, like, there was love there, like, you could tell, like, he loved her, and outside the character, and then I think Desi, of course, I think Lucy was the love of his life. That's a whole other podcast, but, and then you
Yeah.
look at things like Everybody Loves Raymond, and it's always like it's like the complete opposite, right? It's like you're such a doofus, right? And there's that different dynamic. It's almost like the Swiffer commercial dynamic of like, oh, these guys, they'll never learn how to trap dust, like
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And you have kids, correct?
I do. I
Yeah.
have a almost 17-year-old and a just turned 19-year-old.
Are they funny?
They're hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're hilarious. And I'm not just saying that. They're
Yeah.
like my husband is also very funny, and so,
Uh-huh.
like, we care about this, and
Yeah.
so we'll just, like there'll be, like, a hilarious series of texts on, like, the family text chain, and then my husband and I will text each other separately being like, "We raised him right," or something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool.
yeah, they're really good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and they each have their own specific sense of humor, very different, like, they're super different kids, and they're just sharp and
Mhm.
funny. Like, I remember my older one, when they were little, it was a long time ago, but they were sitting on the couch, and they said something like, "I'm thirsty." I forget how it started, but the point was oh, no, they out of the blue, they were like, "You know, I think my favorite drinks are lemonade and seltzer." And I was like, "Oh, yes, the drink of our people. Lemonade and seltzer and blood." And I was like, "Yes!" I had no idea where this came from, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And they were like little.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe they got it from somewhere, who knows? But they knew it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. Is
Yeah.
there, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure listeners hear?
No, I just want them to know that, like you with your improv class and everything else, that like this really is a thing you could do. You don't
Yeah.
have to be there's this conception that like to be first of all, that all comedy is stand up, which is not true.
Right.
And second of all comedy is one kind of stand up, which is also not true, especially now.
Yeah.
And also that in order to do stand up or just experiment with comedy, that you have to be like the funny one, you
Right.
know? Or that you have to be loud, or you have to be like, the one with the lampshade on your head at a party, which
Right.
please no. Or you already have and also, you don't have to have funny things happen to you. Like
Right.
that's not comedy. Those are
Right.
just anecdotes. Like like your life can be like by your own description boring.
Right.
And there's still so much stuff. So
Right.
I always suggest that people we talk about gratitude journals, which I've never been good at.
Mhm.
My joke and take on that is like, keep an attitude journal. And I'm sort of, it's not really an attitude journal. It's more like, just like write down the things that happened today, or even just like a detail that like, it might not be funny yet, but
Yeah.
it's like something fun. It's like, it could be funny. It could be a thing. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's funny that I'm sitting here. I have so many AirPods. Like, I don't know. It's not
Right.
like it's not funny right now, but like I could just write down so many
Yeah.
AirPods and that could go somewhere. I don't know, or like hair clips, like that my cat, like there are hair clips everywhere in my house
Yeah.
because my cat will like puts them everywhere. And when in the apocalypse, our house will be ashes, but it will be full of hair clips,
Hair
like
clips.
something. I
Yes.
don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what the
Yeah. Yeah.
joke is. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But just write down hair. Okay, write down hair clips.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't tell you. But when you train yourself to notice these things, then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to have like a goofy, wacky thing happen to me
Right.
in order for me to at least notice and enjoy the comedy in my life. And
Yeah.
then maybe that's enough. Maybe that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
that just gives you a chuckle, which God knows we like. But
Yeah.
maybe you're just like, oh, maybe I could write some jokes,
Yeah.
you know? So, but it all starts with like noticing that you're noticing. So I would encourage
Yes.
people to practice, to just do that practice. And
Yes.
worst case, you get a chuckle. Worst case.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't funny. I mean, there's funny parts of it, but my kids and I have a 3-year ongoing story about a duck that we named Mortimer that we saw at Disney World. And I mean, Mortimer just runs that place, right? And like every time
Yeah.
we see a duck, we're like, I bet they named Mortimer because da da da, right? And it just is ongoing and it's so stupid and fun. And to your point of like, you just never know where things are going to come from. Like half of the fun is just we think it's funny and we think it's fun. And
Yeah.
it's just one upping each other about like, what Mortimer's been up to. And, the Mortimer was up to election fraud recently and all kinds of stuff.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Right. There is no election fraud except for Mortimer.
Mortimer. I mean,
Right. Right.
actually,
Mortimer.
he is
Yeah.
investigating it. Mortimer's an upstanding duck,
Oh,
so he
oh.
is investigating.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yeah,
Did
no,
not
that's
mean.
okay. It's all right. I mean, that could be the
Right, but
twist. Maybe
right.
this is all a ruse, but to your point, like
Mortimer is smart.
it just came from watching this duck, and there was something about this duck, and we just started having fun with it. So you never know where something, where it's gonna go. Mortimer's not gonna have a show. It's an inside joke with us, like,
I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe you take Ryan's class and all of a sudden
Yeah,
you're like, because people have pitched animated shows before also, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah,
And you don't need to attach an animator now. It's just an idea,
sure,
right? So maybe you're like Mortimer, Mortimer, the city council duck,
yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know. Maybe there's a show there. We'll see.
Honestly, I feel like the people of Florida would potentially elect a duck into government. I mean, I feel like that is a real possibility for us here. So
I
who
mean,
knows?
here we have it's like Parks and so you always have to think of your comps, right? So it's Parks and Rec,
Right,
but a duck.
right. Yeah,
There you go. Sell
there you
it.
go. It's done. Done. I'll bring it up at family dinner. Be like, guys, we're on to something. Well, I could just keep talking to you. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. This has been so much fun. What, what do you love most about what you do?
I just I love I love the thing you were talking about before, which is
Mhm.
just being made to laugh, being and building and being like, but what if, and I don't get to do it as much as I like because I'm usually the one, setting up the marketing plan or,
Sure. Yeah.
or paying the bills or whatever. But like that feeling, even with my team, of just like, what is the best and funniest way we could possibly do this thing? And then riffing is my favorite.
Yeah.
I love it. So, it's not the case that running a comedy business is a barrel of laughs, but when you get the laughs, they're really good laughs.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think I am not stealing, quoting this from Shonda Rhimes,
Mhm.
who bragging I was on a Zoom with the other day through a community I'm part of, and
Awesome.
this was either her quote or she was quoting someone else, but she said, "Choose to be around people who make you feel like you."
Mhm.
And I wasn't bad at that when I was growing up, but I could have done better.
Mhm.
And I got pretty good at it in college and thereafter, which is why I have like the best friends in the world. And I think I got it from my parents who were really
Mhm.
good at that too,
Mhm.
who had great friends. But like, don't waste your time. Like it's the same thing as comedians. Don't waste your time with people who aren't your crowd.
Right.
It's life advice too.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
your people. Yeah. Be with people who make you feel like you.
Yeah. That's really good advice. And how can people find you?
Goldcomedy.com is
Yeah.
our website. Instagram, please follow us
Mhm.
on Instagram at Gold Comedy.
Mhm.
Couple things, if you go to our website, you can and sign up for our email, you'll get a
Mhm.
freebie, which is a great compendium of advice from your favorite comedians. Actually, we compiled best and worst advice they'd ever gotten. So that's fun.
That's great.
So we'll send you that. And also, if you DM me and say you heard me on this podcast, I'll send you a code for 10% off of a membership or our premium class, the pitching class that I was talking about, which runs just about every quarter. So there's always one starting up.
Amazing.
10% off
Amazing.
is a lot.
It is. Yeah, that's awesome. And then I'm throwing this out there. I told you that this would be my last question, but who are like your comedy icons? Like, who do you love?
Well, I mean, we already talked about the oldies, right? We already
Mhm.
talked about Lucille Ball,
Yeah.
Carol Burnett, Loretta Swit, Carol Kane, Miss
Mhm.
Piggy, of course. Currently, the ones that I would also recommend people go find are, and I'm gonna forget somebody, so forgive
Sure.
me,
Sure.
but obviously the entire cast of Somebody Somewhere, but also Maria Bamford.
Mhm.
Is Maria Bamford is just you'll see,
Yeah.
and Cameron Esposito also. And, someone who's done a lot of late night, you'll find her if you Google her name is Naomi Ekperigin. It's
Mhm.
Ekperigin. I find her to be just she has a podcast also. I really love her, and you'll
Mhm.
tell me that you were when she's even more famous, you'll say, I heard you
Yeah.
mention her on that podcast.
Yeah.
So those are just a few. I'm sure I've forgotten people who I
Sure.
oh, and Bob the Drag Queen. Bob the
Oh my
Drag Queen
gosh.
is one
Yeah.
of the best stand-ups working today. People don't know he does stand-up. He does amazing stand-up.
Yeah.
And he has a new book. I mean, he does what can't he do?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this again, I could just talk to you all day. This was wonderful. And you've written books
Yes, they are
and
very old, but you can still
yeah,
find them
you can
on
still find
Amazon.
them. Yep. And I was going to say, can people find them on Gold Comedy or somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that you can find them on Amazon, but you can find them from resellers,
Mhm.
via Amazon.
Cool.
Listen, I just started to write a pilot myself because
Uh-huh.
I needed to do that creativity thing
Sure.
in addition to the business thing. And it's related to my most recent book, which is also now old. And I started reading the book and I was like, oh my God, this is kind of funny. So I got some delight out of that. And it's called Miss Media. And it's a media satire with a whodunit mixed in. So
Cool.
yeah, you can find them all
Yeah.
around the internet. So buy them from a reputable reseller,
Reseller.
and, they're out there, and yeah, I hope you
Awesome.
enjoy them.
That's great. Wonderful. Lynn, thank you so much. Thanks for spending so much time. Thanks for
You're
creating this
welcome.
space for folks and for putting some great stuff out in the world that didn't exist before. How cool is that? I mean,
Yeah,
it's really cool. And I just appreciate it. Thank you.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.